happy summer. I hope you're all enjoying spending lots of time outside playing with your friends and family. And this is also the perfect time for you to enjoy our special omnibus edition of Journey with Story, where you can listen to all of this month's episodes in one place. Oh, mums and dads, don't forget you can download some free colouring sheets to accompany each episode if you go to www.journeywithstory.com and click on the Become a Patreon orange tab. It's up there at the top of each page. And also, if you scroll right down, it's right there at the bottom of every page too. Thanks to all of you, our loyal Patreon subscribers. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's take an omnibus journey with Story. Let's take a journey with the tick-tock clock. One midsummer's evening, after a sizzle of a storm, a grandfather clock in the hall of a house began to talk.
Yoo-hoo!
It bellowed.
Is anyone home?
The Robbins family were home, and at once they all came a-clattering down the stairs, with Mr. Robbins flailing a large poker in the air and shouting, "Who's there?"
No need for alarm, my lord,
came the reply.
"'Tis only I, your very own grandfather clock, a.k.a.
That just means also known as
Benjamin B. Bottrell."
But that's impossible, gasped Mrs. Robbins. "Clocks can't talk, not a speaking kind of talk."
"But I can and I do, as you can hear for yourself, my lady," continued Benjamin. "I used to belong to a lonely wizard in India who cast a spell on me so I could keep him company by chatting to him every day. But when he got a talking parrot, he snuffed out that spell, and he sold me off to your great Uncle Ambrose, who took me here to England. And until tonight I've been as dumb as a donkey."
But how are you able to talk again?" asked little Ruby Rose Robbins.
"Bit of a mystery, my dear,"
admitted Benjamin.
"My guess is that midsummer's magic is in the air with that sizzle of a storm, which has sparked up that speaking spell again. Now here I am, all a talking again. Why don't you all pull up a chair and let's have a chat?"
And that is just what they did. Far into the wee hours of the morning, the family talked and talked and talked. Benjamin found them all to be good listeners, as well as pithy and witty and wise. For their part, the family found Benjamin to be a scintillating conversationalist, as well as pithy and witty and wise. The next day, the Robbins family invited all their friends and neighbours to meet Benjamin. They even hauled him out of the hall and into the parlour. "Now you can be the life and soul of the party," cooed Mrs. Robbins. And he was. All through the long summer days, Benjamin entertained his visitors with stories of his time in the land of jungle and jasmine. He serenaded them with jolly songs. He even organised games of musical chairs while Ruby Rose passed out plates of sandwiches and scones. And his imitation of snapping crocodiles and trumpeting elephants made the children squeal and beg for more. News of Benjamin spread until soon flocks of people came to visit him every day. Benjamin boomed and bonged with happiness. But with the end of summer came an end to Benjamin's bliss. "Tomorrow you will have to be on your own, Benjamin," explained Mrs. Robbins. "I have to go back to school as head mistress of Primrose Primary School, and Ruby Rose has to go back to school too." "Don't worry," said Ruby Rose. "We will move you close to the window so you can look outside while we're gone, and you won't be so lonely."
bless your heart,
bonged Benjamin. But the next morning, when the family all filed out the door, Benjamin began to bawl.
No! Don't leave me!
Now, Benjamin, chided Mrs. Robbins. Remember, you're a grandfather clock, not a big baby bawling clock. Just look out the window to pass the time and we'll be home before you know it. And off everyone went. For a while, Benjamin tried looking out the window, but he soon grew bored, and then he turned to mischief. He started by hurling insults through the open window at passers-by.
Here, lovely niece. Hello, parrot face. What a horrid hat.
On and on he ranted. When the Robbins family returned home, there was a long line of people complaining about Benjamin's shenanigans. Mr. and Mrs. Robbins scolded Benjamin soundly, and he promised to mend his ways. But the next day, when he was left alone again, Benjamin soon grew bored once more. And once more he turned to mischief. He whistled and hooted like a train and startled the painters across the street. He imitated a herd of elephants, which caused pandemonium at the bus stop. When a gaggle of schoolgirls huddled nearby for a gossip, Benjamin waited until there was a little lull in the conversation, and then he bellowed at the top of his voice, "Boo!" How those girls squealed and screeched and squawked like a troop of monkeys. Benjamin hooted with laughter. When the Robbins family arrived home, they found an angry mob outside their front door shouting, "What a menace of a clock! Let's plug his pendulum! Let's chop him up for firewood!"
Oh, please, sister, save me,
begged Benjamin. "We won't let them hurt you," soothed Ruby Rose. "But your behaviour has been abominable," scolded Mrs. Robbins. "It's not all his fault," piped up Ruby Rose. "He's just bored being left home alone all day."
Bless your heart,
said Benjamin.
Indeed it is true. What is a clock to do all day with no one to talk or tick for?
"I have an idea," cried Ruby Rose. She whispered in her mother's ear. Mrs. Robbins beamed. "I wonder, what do you think Ruby Rose's idea is?" The next morning a large truck arrived at the house, and 4 burly men hauled Benjamin away.
Where are they taking me?
wailed Benjamin. "Don't worry," whispered Ruby Rose. "All will be well." And it was. On Monday morning, when the children of Primrose Primary School trooped into school, there was Benjamin, standing outside the office with a badge above his face that read, "Benjamin B. Bottrell, Head Mistress's Helper." Every day now, Benjamin greeted all the girls and boys. He chided the latecomers. He comforted the worrywarts. He cheered the timid. He quelled all the quarrels. And in this way, he cherished each and every one of those girls and boys. And in the evenings, so tuckered out was he from all his talking that he was quite content just to stand and watch the world go by as his happy heart went. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. Now, let's take an encore journey with How Brother Rabbit Fooled the Whale and the Elephant. One day, little Brother Rabbit was running along on the sand, lippity-lippity, when he saw the whale and the elephant talking together. Little Brother Rabbit crouched down and listened to what they were saying.
"You're the biggest thing on the land, Brother Elephant," said the whale, "and I am the biggest thing in the sea. If we join together, we can rule all the animals in the world and have our way about everything." "Ah, very good," trumpeted the elephant. "That suits me. We will do it." Little Brother Rabbit snickered to himself. "They won't rule me," he said. He ran away and got a very long, very strong rope. And he got his big drum and he hid the drum a long way off in the bushes. Then he went along the beach till he came to the whale. "Oh, please, dear strong Mr. Whale," he said, "will you have the great kindness to do me a favour? My cow is stuck in the mud a quarter of a mile from here, and I can't pull her out. But you are so strong and so obliging that I venture to trust you will help me out." The whale was so pleased with the compliment that he agreed at once. "So," said the rabbit, "I will tie this end of my long rope to you, and I will run away and tie the other end round my cow. And when I am ready, I will beat my big drum. When you hear that, pull very, very hard, for the cow is stuck very deep in the mud." "Ha!" grunted the whale. "I'll pull her out if she's stuck to the horns."
Little Brother Rabbit tied the rope end to the whale and ran off lippity-lippity till he came to the place where the elephant was. "Oh, please, mighty and kindly elephant," he said, making a very low bow, "will you do me a favour?"
"What is it?"
asked the elephant. "My cow is stuck in the mud about a quarter of a mile from here," said Little Brother Rabbit, "and I cannot pull her out. Of course you could, if you will be so very obliging as to help me."
"Oh, certainly," said the elephant grandly. "Certainly."
"So," said the Little Brother Rabbit, "I will tie one end of this long rope to your trunk and the other to my cow, and as soon as I have tied her tightly, I will beat my big drum. When you hear that, pull as hard as you can, for my cow is very heavy."
"Oh, never fear," said the elephant. "I could pull 20 cows."
"Oh, I'm sure you could," said the rabbit politely. "Only be sure to begin gently and pull harder and harder until you get her." Then he tied the end of the rope tightly round the elephant's trunk and he ran away into the bushes. There he sat down and beat the big drum. The whale began to pull and the elephant began to pull, and in a jiffy the rope tightened till it was stretched as hard as it could be.
"This is a remarkably heavy cow," said the elephant, "but I'll fetch her."
And he braced his forefeet in the earth and gave a tremendous pull.
"Dear me," said the whale, "that cow must be stuck mighty tight."
And he drove his tail deep in the water and gave a marvellous pull. He pulled harder, the elephant pulled harder. Pretty soon the whale found himself sliding toward the land. The reason was, of course, that the elephant had something solid to brace against, and also, as fast as he drew the rope in a little, he took a turn with it round his trunk. But
when the whale found himself sliding toward the land, he was so provoked with the cow that he dove headfirst down to the bottom of the sea. That was a pull. The elephant was jerked off his feet and came slipping and sliding to the beach and into the surf. He was terribly angry. He braced himself with all his might and pulled his best. At the jerk, up came the whale out of the water.
"Who is pulling me?"
spouted the whale.
"Who is pulling me?"
trumpeted the elephant. And then each saw the rope in the other's hold.
"How is this?" cried the whale. "I thought I was pulling Brother Rabbit's cow."
"That is what I thought," said the elephant. "Brother Rabbit is making fun of us. He must pay for this. I forbid him to eat a blade of grass on land because he played a trick on us.
"And I will not allow him to drink a drop of water in the sea,"
said the whale. But Little Rabbit sat in the bushes and laughed and laughed and laughed. "Ha ha! Much do I care," he said. "I can get all the green things I want, and I don't like salt water."
Now, let's take a journey with a tale from India called Damsel the Elephant. Once upon a time, in the holy city of Benares in India, there lived a king who owned an elephant with a smile so charming he named her Damsel. Damsel was the height of loyalty, always nodding in obedience, always calm and even-tempered. She never so much as stepped on a bug. One night, a crew of thieves held a secret meeting inside Damsel's stall. They thought they had found the perfect hideout for discussing their grand plans of burgling houses, palaces, and maybe even a special sweet store. Little did they know Damsel, with her impressively large ears, was eavesdropping on their entire conversation. The eldest thief, who fancied himself a professor of thuggery, would educate the recruits on the art and science of crime. Here's a snippet of his eloquent lecture.
"Now listen up, lads. To break into a house, you must tunnel through the walls as cleanly and openly as a road leading to a king's palace. And when lifting the goods, don't hesitate to commit a little murder here and there. After all, dead men tell no tales."
And so the thieves, completely oblivious to their elephantine audience, continued to plot and plan, turning Damsel's humble abode into a full-blown criminal masterclass. After a lively discussion on the best practices of burglary, the thieves vanished into the night. Then they returned the next day and the day after to discuss their plans, thieving techniques and murderous ways. Eventually, Damsel started to believe that the thieves were there to tutor her and that she must transform into a ruthless, cold-hearted and aggressive elephant. And transform she did. When her elephant keeper came to tend to her the next morning, Damsel picked him up with her trunk and gave him a good shake before plopping him down on the ground. Startled and bewildered, the elephant trainer quickly scrambled away. Feeling quite proud of her assertiveness, Damsel treated everyone who approached her with the same enthusiasm until nobody felt safe to go near her. The news quickly reached the king that Damsel had lost her marvels. The king was indeed puzzled, so he spoke to his wise adviser, who was the Bodhisatta.
Go, sage, and find out what has got into Damsel that she is playing up like this.
The Bodhisatta examined Damsel's face and concluded she was not physically ill. So he spoke to her and asked, "Did anyone tell you to behave like this?"
"Oh, yes, wise one," said the elephant. "Some robbers come into my stall every night and instruct me to be violent."
Armed with this information, the Bodhisatta informed the king that Damsel was physically fine, but had been corrupted by the evil conversations she had overheard. The king asked him how to remedy the situation. The Bodhisatta suggested that a group of saintly sages sit near Damsel and talk about kindness and goodness. The king agreed, and the Bodhisatta arranged for the sages to sit near the elephant and discuss topics such as patience, love, and mercy. After hearing these conversations, Damsel assumed that this was another lesson meant for her and decided to change her ways. And change she did. She became the gentle and good-natured elephant she once was. The king was delighted with the transformation. He asked the Bodhisatta if Damsel was truly cured. The Bodhisatta confirmed that thanks to the wise and good company she was keeping, Damsel had reverted to her old kind self. He then recited a stanza summarizing the incident.
When she heard the evil speech, Damsel rampaged, causing harm and breach. When good company returned once more, to be gentle and kind she again swore. So heed this lesson, take it to heart, for wisdom and insight it shall impart. Surrounded by evil, we may falter, lose sight, but with goodness around us, we can do right.
Let's take a journey with the sneezing statue. Mr. Kim, who lived at the foot of the mountains, was a lazy lout. He had a family to support, but he did not like steady work. He preferred to smoke his pipe as long as a yardstick and to wait for something to turn up. One day his wife, tired of trying to feed hungry children from empty dishes, gave her husband a good scolding and bade him begone and get something for the household. This consisted of father, mother, and 4 little folks whose faces were not often washed, besides a little dog. This puppy, when danger was near, always ran into the house through a little square hole cut in the door, and when safely within, barked with great gusto. So Mr. Kim went out to the mountain to find something. A root of ginseng, a nugget of gold, or some precious stone, perhaps, if he were lucky. If not, some berries, wild grapes, or pears might do. Meanwhile, at home, his wife pounded the grain that was left in the pantry for the children's dinner. Mr. Kim rambled over the rocks a long time without seeing anything worth carrying away. When it was about noon, he came to one of the mighty stone Buddhas cut out of the solid mountain. It rose in the air many yards high. Ages ago, in the days of Buddhism, when monasteries covered the land and Buddhist friars and nuns chanted hymns to the praise of Lord Buddha, devout men, labouring for many months, chiselled this towering statue into human form. Its nose stood out 3 feet. Its mouth was 4 feet wide. On its flat head was a cap made of a slab of granite and shaped like a student's mortarboard, on which 10 men could stand without crowding one another. Long gone and forgotten were the monks, and now the monastery had fallen to ruins. The forest had grown up around the great stone image until it was nearly hidden by the tall trees surrounding it. In front, from the ground up, the wild grapevines had gripped the stone with their tendrils and spread their matted branches and greenery until they nearly covered the image up to its neck. But out of a crevice in the head of the figure grew a pear tree, sprung from a seed dropped long ago by the great-grandfather of one of the birds singing and chirping nearby. And oh joy! At the end of the outer branch was growing a ripe, luscious pear, nearly as big as a man's head. What a prize! It would, when cut up, make a dessert for the whole family. Happy Kim, he blessed his lucky star. Seizing hold of the bushes and wild grapevines, by dint of great effort, Mr. Kim climbed upward and got as far as the chin of the great stone face. Above him protruded the big nose, the nostrils of which gaped like caverns. Yet, although he was standing with his foot on the stone lips and holding on to the nose, despite all his exertions, he could get no further up the granite face. He was at his wits' end. Far above hung the delicious-looking pear as if to tantalize him. A gentle breeze was swaying the fruit to and fro, and it seemed to say, "Take me if you can." But the nose, being polished, was slippery, and the ears were too smooth to climb. What could he take hold of? Surely to shin up any further was impossible. Must he give up the pear? A bright thought entered his head. He would crawl up into the right nostril and hope for an exit to the top. So, thinking he might find his way, he began, like an insect, to enter the hole, and soon the man Kim disappeared from sight, as with hands and feet he climbed into the darkness. Wasn't it dangerous to tickle the nostrils of the great stone man in this way? But whatever Kim may have thought, he kept on, determined to get that pear come what might. Suddenly, a blast loud enough to rend the mountain was heard. Hush! Ho! Had an earthquake or tempest taken place? Was this rolling thunder? No, the statue had sneezed. Thus the stone man got rid of the intruder. The first thing Mr. Kim knew, he was flying through the air and he tumbled upon the bushes. His wits were gone. He knew nothing. This was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Mr. Kim lay asleep or unconscious till near sundown. Then he woke up and realized what had happened. There was a stone nose beetling over him far up toward the sky. But in sneezing so hard, the statue had shaken its head also, and the big pear had dropped off. Kim found it lying by his side, and picking it up, he went on his way rejoicing. At home, the little dog, looking through the square hole, saw him, barked welcome, and a right merry supper they all had over the big pear cut into slices, as Mr. Kim enjoyed telling the story of his adventures. I hope you enjoyed this special playlist. Be sure to send us your drawings at www.journeywithstory.com. Click on the contact and fill in the form there and attach your drawing. Cheerio then. Join me next time for Journey with Story. Music and post-production was by Colette Jonas.